there, I'm Louie, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to crochet the planet Earth. Obviously this pattern has quite a lot of color changes, so because of that I had to create a whole new way to read color changes, a new color change chart. So throughout this video, each round you'll see a bunch of squares at the bottom of the screen here. Those will indicate which colors go where. Now when you're reading this, you're reading it from right to left. Right being the first stitch in the round and left being the last stitch in a round. Also, there's different things like brackets on top of the stitches which will indicate increases. The border of the stitch indicates what the stitch is. If it's a full border, it's a single crochet. If it's a broken border, it's a decrease. And in each stitch, there's going to be a top color and a bottom color. The top color is for the top of the stitch and the bottom is for the bottom of the stitch. I'll explain that more as we're going along, but just know that there's going to be a lot of color changes and to look what the next stitch is before you continue working around. Also, this pattern is worked completely in the round and in a spiral. You never have to connect rounds and you never have to turn around. You're just going in a spiral. So when you finished one round, look to where the start of the next round is to know which color you're going to be changing to. Okay, so for this pattern, I'm using all worsted weight yarn in blue, green, and white. Because I'm using worsted weight yarn, I'm using a size G 4mm crochet hook. I've also used thread for this and made them really tiny. It's totally possible. You totally can do it. But yeah, just saying, it's pretty cool and you should totally do that. You'll also need some stuffing. And then if you want to add eyes, you'll need some safety bead eyes. I'm using, I think, 10mm safety bead eyes here and some black thread for just a little smile or something. All right, well, let's get hooking. We're going to start with white yarn, and yeah. Okay, so we're going to start with our white yarn here, and we're going to start with a magic loop. You can either start with the magic loop method or the chain 2 method, whichever one you feel more comfortable with. I'm obviously starting with the magic loop method. Now for the first 2 rounds, they're all going to be in white, so we won't need any color changes for the start of this pattern. That's the same for the end as well. And that's just kind of to work you up to actually understanding. Also, it's a great way to get the poles, north and south pole, out of the way. All right, so for round 1, we're going to work 6 single crochets into either the second chain from the hook or the magic loop. Now, obviously, we're doing the magic loop. So we're going to do 6 single crochets into this magic loop here, all in white. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and here's 6. Okay, so that's going to be the end of round 1. I'm going to pull this a little tighter. Okay. For round 2, it's also going to be all in white. And here you can kind of see how the squares are working, specifically how the increases are working, because there will be increases throughout this pattern, of course. For round 2, we're working an increase into each stitch around, which means that in this chart here, you'll see that two of the squares are connected by little brackets here. Those brackets indicate where an increase are. So those 2 stitches are both worked into the same place, meaning that they're an increase. So for round 2, we're doing an increase into each stitch around, and obviously we are doing all white, like I said before. I'm working around this tail just for the first few stitches. So there's our first increase. Now for this round, make sure to stop just before the end of the round, and that's because you're going to be doing color changes right after this, so we can go into where to do color changes and where not to do color changes. Now I'm going to cut the end here because we really don't want any spare threads throughout this pattern if we can avoid it, because they just get really in the way and they're very, very annoying. Okay, so we're almost done with round 2 here. Okay, and this here's the end of round 2, and as you can tell, I'm not finishing up the stitch here. I still have 2 loops on my hook, and that's exactly what you want to do. So before you pull through these 2 loops with whatever yarn you need to look at what the top of the next stitch is. That will indicate what the top loop is. So for round 2, here you see our little squares here, and in our first square you'll see that it's all blue. That's actually the case for every round that you're doing color changes in this pattern. So just remember that the first stitch is always going to be a full blue stitch, meaning the bottom and the top of the stitch are both going to be blue. But this is a great time to show you how color changes are going to work in this pattern. So let's grab our blue yarn here. Also grab our green yarn because we're going to need that pretty much right afterwards. Okay, so for round 3, it's going to start with an all blue stitch. So we're going to flip our blue yarn under the white yarn. See, I'm holding it down with my right index finger. My left index finger, I flip it under. I yarn over with the blue, and I pull it through the stitch. Okay, that's because the top of the stitch is going to be blue. Now for round 3, it's going to be a single crochet and then an increase each stitch around. So the first stitch is just going to be a regular old single crochet. So I'm going to go into the next stitch, yarn over with blue, and I'm going to pull through. I'm going to grab our next color because as you see in the next square, we're going to need a half color change. Okay, so for the next stitch, the top of the stitch is blue and the bottom of the stitch is green. That means we're going to start by pulling through with blue, okay, and that's going to make the top of the stitch. And then we're going to change over to green, have green on top. Okay, let's actually cut the white really quick, just so we don't get confused, and we don't need that at all until the end anyhow. So let's get that out of the way. Okay, so we have our top of our stitch being blue, and the bottom of the stitch is green. So I'm going to flip under so that green is over the blue, and I'm going to go into the stitch, yarn over with green, and pull through. Okay, so this is essentially the end of the second stitch. Now for the third stitch, it's going to be all blue, which means that we're going to change over to our blue yarn, yarn over, and pull through with blue. Okay, now we're going to go into the same stitch because this is going to be an increase stitch, as you can tell by the little brackets over the second 2 squares around here. So the next stitch is all blue, so we're going to go into the same stitch because it's an increase, yarn over with blue, and pull through with blue. Okay, now let's look at the next stitch. As you can see, these next 7 stitches, you can tell there's a little number in that square, and that's going to indicate that for 7 stitches in a row, you're going to repeat that color. So that's going to be all green. So we need an all green stitch for 7 stitches in a row. So since the next stitch is all green, I'm going to change over to green and pull through with green. Okay. So that'd be the end of that's the beginning of our 1, 2, 3, 4th stitch. An all green stitch, and it's just a regular old single crochet, all green. There's our first one in all green. Now throughout this whole pattern, I'm going to just basically be working around the blue and the green when I don't need it. And that's because you're going to need to change colors so often that it's not worth it to cut it or to avoid it or something like that, because you just need it so often. Okay, so for 5th stitch, you can tell that it's an increase and it's all green. Okay, so we got 2 stitches in a row that are all green. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and there's 3. Then we have another single crochet in all green, and then an increase in all green. Okay, now we have an all green stitch, one last all green stitch. There we go. Now let's look at the next stitch over. It's all blue. It's an increase, and it's going to be all blue for the first part of the increase. So we're going to yarn over with blue and pull through the 2. Okay, and we're going to go into the next stitch and pull through with blue because it's all blue. The next stitch is the top is blue and the bottom is green. So we're going to yarn over and pull through with blue. Then we're going to change over to green. And this is an increase stitch, so we're going to work into the same stitch that we just did and pull through with green. The next stitch is all green. You're going to pull through with green. Then we're going to go into the next stitch, yarn over and pull through with green. Okay, and that looks like there's 2 stitches in a row that are all green, which is nice. Okay, so this next stitch is all green. Boom. Okay, the stitch after this is the second part of an increase, and the top is blue. So we're going to yarn over and pull through with blue. And then we're going to go into the same stitch, and it looks like the bottom is green. So we're going to go over so that green is on top. go into the next stitch, yarn over with green, and pull through. Okay. Now the next stitch is going to be all blue, so we're going to yarn over and pull through with blue. Go into the next stitch, yarn over with blue, pull through. And that'll essentially be the end of that stitch. In the next stitch, the top is green and the bottom is blue. So we're going to change over to green, yarn over and pull through with green so that the top is going to be green. We're going to go into the next stitch and change over to blue. Yarn over with blue and pull through. And the last stitch here is going to be all blue and worked into the same stitch because it's an increase. So we're going to yarn over with blue, pull through, go into the same stitch, yarn over with blue, pull through. That's going to be the end of round 3. Okay, so we're going to look at the beginning of round 4 here. Round 4, we're going to do 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches, 5 single crochets, and then an increase repeated 3 times in a row. At the end of round 4, you should have 21 stitches around. I should have said that at the end of round 3 here, we had 18 stitches. Okay, so let's get this green. Looks like we got a little straggler here that wants to go along, so let's get out of the way. Okay, so for round 4, we're going to start with an all blue stitch. So we're going to yarn over, pull through with blue, go into the next stitch, yarn over and pull through with blue. Our second stitch is going to be the top green. So we're going to yarn over with green and pull through the 2 to make the top green. And the bottom is going to be blue. So we're going to change over to blue, go into the next stitch, pull through with blue. And then we have 8 stitches in a row that are all green. The first 3 are single crochets, so we're going to change over to green. Okay, we're going to go into the next 3 stitches and do just regular green stitches. 1, 2, 3. The next 2 all green stitches are going to be an increase, so we're going to go work both of those into the same stitch, so that's an increase. Okay, so we did 5 of our all greens. Now we have 3 more just regular old green stitches, just single crochet. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay, our next stitch is going to be, the top half is going to be blue. So we're going to yarn over and pull through with blue. And our bottom half is going to be green. So we're going to change over to green, go into the next stitch, yarn over with green. Okay, and the next stitch after that is going to be top blue or top green. So we're going to yarn over with green and pull through the 2 loops. And the bottom is going to be blue. So we're changing to blue, going into the next stitch and pulling through with blue. Okay, the stitch after that, the next 2 stitches after that are both blue, and it's an increase. So they're both going to be worked into the same stitch. So 2 blues into the same stitch, all blue. Okay. Our yarn is getting a little tangled here, which I'll show you how to untangle that at the end of this round. Let me just get that white out of the way though. It's being a little bit of a brat right now. There we go. Now that okay, so these are the... Okay, so we just finished that second all blue part of that increase. The next 3 stitches are all green, and they're just single crochets. So we're going to yarn over and pull through with green. And we're going to do 3 single crochets in green. 1, 2, and here's 3. Okay, the next one is top green. So we're going to yarn over and pull through with green. And bottom blue. Okay. The next stitch is all green. Pull through, go into the next stitch, pull through with green. Okay, the next 2 stitches are all blue, and it's an increase. So we're going to change over to blue, do an increase, 1, and here's 2. All right, now that's going to be the end of round 4. Now before we go to our next round, I'm going to pull those loops out just a little bit, show you how to unwind your yarn here. As you can see, it's all tangled up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the two ends here, the green and the blue, and we're just going to hold it up and it'll spin itself out. There we go. Untangled. Easy squeezy. We'll put our crochet hook back into those stitches. All right, so for round 5, we're going to start with an all blue stitch. Okay, just a regular little single crochet all blue. Okay, the top is going to be, for the next stitch, top green. So pull through with green, bottom blue. Okay, next stitch after that is top green. So pull through with green, go into the next stitch. Boom, boom. Okay. Oopsies. I wasn't supposed to pull through that with green. Okay. The next stitch after that is all blue. Nice trick, Lou. Good job, past Lou. Okay, so we're doing an all blue single crochet after that all green. Okay, the stitch after that is going to be top blue and bottom green. Okay, and the next stitch after that is all green. So do a single crochet in all green. And then an increase in all green. You can tell because there's brackets over the color change. Okay, the next 2 stitches after that are going to also be all green. 1, 2. Okay, the stitch after that is going to be top green and bottom blue. And then we have 6 stitches in all blue. So there's 1, 2, 3, and then it looks like we have an increase. So 4, 5 are worked in the same stitch. And then our last one is worked in a single crochet. And then we have 4 in all green. So we're going to change over to green. Go 1, 2, 3, and 4. We just made the top of America. Actually, I wasn't supposed to pull through with green with the last one there. Okay, now we have 3 stitches in all blue. So we're going to change over to blue. 1 single crochet in all blue. And then the last one is an increase all in blue. So let's do 1 and 2. Oops. And I'll pull our loop out and we'll just untangle it again. Pretty much untangling each round is a good way not only to just make sure it's clean, but also give you a second between rounds. All right, so we're going to be on round 6 now. And for the start of the round, it's going to be an all blue stitch. Now this round is actually all single crochets, so you don't really have to worry too much anymore about doing increases. We're actually done with increases, and we'll get to decreases in 4 rounds. So the next 4 rounds are going to be all single crochets, so don't worry about it increasing. Okay, so we have an all blue stitch to start, and then we have 9 all green stitches in a row. And they're all single crochets, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Now our next stitch is top green and bottom blue. And then we have 6 stitches in a row that are going to be all blue. 1, 2, 3, 4. My blue yarn got a little tangled there. 5. Here's 6. Now we have 4 in a row that are going to be all green rather. So 3 green or 4 green. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now we have 3 in all blue. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so for round 7, it's going to start with an all blue stitch. And then we have 4 greens in a row. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, the next stitch is going to be top blue and bottom green. Okay, the stitch after that is going to be all blue. Oops, it's not blue, that's green. All blue. And then we have an all green stitch. And then we have an all blue stitch. And then we have a top blue and a bottom green. And then we have 2 that are top green, bottom blue. Here's our first one. Next one, top green, bottom blue. Now we have 6 in a row that are going to be all blue. Okay, before I continue on this, I forgot to untangle it, and it's starting to get annoying in my hand, so let's untangle it. Okay, so we got 1 all blue, 2, 3, 4, 5, and here's 6. Now we have a top green, all green, and then we have 2 that are top green and bottom blue. Man, I've made enough of these earths now where I know I actually am starting to recognize where I am at in the pattern. We're starting the top of South America right now. Now we have 3 that are all blue. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now we have, that'll be the end of our round. That's the end of round 7. Okay. Let's just untangle this a little bit just to be safe. There we go. All right. So for round 8, we're going to start with 2 that are all blue. There's 1. And here's our second. And then we have a top blue, boom, and bottom green, boom. Then we have 2 that are all green. 1, 2. And then we have 1 that's top blue and bottom green. Okay, then we have 4 that are all blue. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we have a top green, bottom blue. That's the top of Australia there. Get a little bit more of our blue yarn. And now we'll have 8 in a row that are going to be all blue. 2, or this is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now we have 3 in a row that are all green. 1, 2, 3. Then we have 1 that's top green, bottom blue, and then 1 that's all blue. And that's going to finish up round 8. Let's untangle our yarn. There we go. Okay, now we're on round 9. It's going to start with an all blue. They all do. Okay, so our first, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 in round 9 are all blue. So we got 1, 2, 3, and here's our 4th. Then we have 2 green, 1, 2, and then we have 4 that are all blue, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then we have 3 that are all green, starting on Australia here. 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to cross the Pacific Ocean and do 6 blue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Then we're going to do all green for 3. 1, 2, 3. Now we have a top blue and bottom green. And we're going to finish up with an all blue. Okay, that'll be the end of round 9. Now for round 10, we're going to start with our start doing our decreases. So that's going to be if you look at the top of each of I mean, if you look at the border of this of each of the stitches here, you'll see that some are broken borders. And those mean that they're decreases. Okay, so for round 10, we're going to start with 4 that are all blue. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we have an all green, and then a top blue, bottom green. Okay, and the next stitch is an invisible decrease, and it's all blue. So we're going to start by pulling through with our blue. Now for our invisible decrease, for the bottom of our stitch here, we're going to work our crochet hook into the front loops of the next 2 stitches. So just this front loop, and then this front loop. Okay, then we're going to yarn over with our blue and pull it through. And for our next 2 stitches, they're all blue also. So pull through with our blue. 1, 2. Okay. And our next stitch is going to be all green. And then we have a top blue, bottom green. Then we have an all green again. Then we have another top blue, bottom green. And our next one is going to be an invisible decrease, and it's going to be an all blue one. So we're going to pull through with blue and go into the next front loop, so the next 2 stitches, pull through with blue. Our next 4 stitches are going to be all blue. 2, 3, and 4. Then we have an all green. And then we have a top blue, bottom green. And for our last stitch here, it's an all blue invisible decrease. Front loops, the next 2. 1, 2, blue. And pull through. Okay. Now, for our next round, it's going to be round 11. It's actually going to be 16 stitches in a row that are all blue. So we're actually, this is the only round I like, I'll do this, obviously, because we're almost done anyhow. But for round 11, I actually pull this green to the side, and I'll come back to it at the end of this round, and I'll just crochet in just blue for a while. So we're going to do 16 in blue. Our first 5 are regular old single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, that's 5. Okay. And now our invisible decrease. 6 is going to be blue. Then we're going to do that again. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then an invisible decrease for 12. And then we want to do 4 in all blue. 1, 2, 3, and here's going to be 4. I'm going to do it halfway. I'm going to pull this green over from the other side, and I'm going to change to green. See, I'm holding it down with my index finger, so it has like a little bit of a loop there. Hold it down with the index finger and pull through with an all green. Okay, going to go into the next stitch. It's going to be an all green. Then we're going to change back to blue. We're going to do an invisible decrease in all blue. And we're going to hold it there for just a second. We're going to grab our white yarn. We're actually done with color changes. We just need to change to our white. Okay. And we're going to pull through with white. Boop. There we go. Okay, so for our, that was the end of round 11. For round 12, it's all in white. We're going to start with our single crochet, just a regular white single crochet. We can cut these two ends now. We don't need them anymore. Don't need these two colors. We'll throw them to the side. And our next stitch here is going to be an invisible decrease. So we're going to pull through with white. We're going to do an invisible decrease, working in the front loops. 1, 2, boom. And again, we're doing just a single crochet and then an invisible decrease. And we're going to repeat that all the way around. We're just going to keep going. And they're all in white. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we do another single crochet and invisible decrease. Okay, and then we got a single crochet and an invisible decrease. Oops. That one's being difficult. There we go. And a single crochet. And I'll know what the end of this round is because it'll be the last one that's going to be have a color. And our last single crochet here, and then invisible decrease. Okay. I'm just going to pull through with white early because I know that the next round is going to be all white. And now we can stuff our piece a little bit. You can see it's a little funnily, a little bit more of an oval. And actually the earth is an oval, but it's an oval this way, not this way. So we need to stuff it to get that ovaliness out of there. You don't need to overstuff it right now. You don't need to stuff it fully because we still have one more round to go. Just like a vast majority. Just like getting the main part of the stuffing out of the way while the hole is big enough. While the Arctic is still open. Okay. There we go. My gauge in the middle got a little tight there, but I think it's still pretty good. Alright. So get back to our white yarn here. And we're going to do 6 decreases. Now, in the pattern, I want you to just do decreases. You can do either invisible decreases or you can do sharp decreases. I'm going to do sharp decreases because when I do invisible decreases, it seems like the bottom of my piece kind of pops out a little bit, and I really want it to be flat against it. So I'm going to do a sharp decrease, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. You're going to go into the next stitch and yarn over and pull through like you'd be doing a regular single crochet. But now work into the next stitch right here. Yarn over and pull through with another loop and pull that second loop through the other two on the hook. Okay? We're going to do 6 of those in a row. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and here's our last one, 6. We're going to pull that last one through the 2. Okay, and we're going to finish this up. We're going to cut the yarn and just pull that yarn all the way through. And now we just need to add a little bit more stuffing, just so it's a little bit more full. I like using the back of my crochet hook because it's rubber, but if you don't have a crochet hook like this, then try using a pencil. It works really well to stuff as well. All right, just a little bit more. And like I said before, you don't want to overstuff this, but you know, you also don't want to understuff it. I'm right in the line right there. Okay, looks pretty good. All right, now let's sew it closed. You want a darning needle here. I like using a crimped end darning needle because it makes it a little bit easier to sew ends in. We're going to go, we're going to skip 3 stitches here. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, going through the top of that, and go out through where we're coming out. Okay, directly across. We're going to go into the next stitch, go under this bar, and out of the next stitch across, basically making like an asterisk. Now when I've pulled that one through, I can pull it tighter. Now go into the next stitch, across, pull that out. Once that's pulled out, I can pull this one tighter again. And finish up by going through the last stitch right here. And then out through the side, really anywhere on the side. Let's go with like right there. And then we'll go back through that same loop and down straight through the bottom, like that. All right, and we can cut the yarn. And there we go. We have a little planet Earth. I think this pattern could be cool if I stuffed it with like beans or something. You can make it into a pretty neat hacky sack. All right, well, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you like it. I hope you like these color change charts. If you don't, or you had any problems with it, please let me know. Email me at louisloops@gmail.com or louis@clubcrochet.com, or just comment in the YouTube video down below. Message me on Facebook, really any way. Just let me know what you think, and if you have any questions whatsoever, I'd love to help you out here. All right, pasta la pizza, and happy hooking. Bye.